shades. Now this same space was a carefully designed arrangement of coordinating colors and stately antique furniture. The wallpaper was of a blue and white fleur-de-lis pattern, the wainscoting a solid blue. The bed was a four-poster of dark maple, cozy under a thick comforter of royal blue and cream-colored octagons, the dust ruffle a matching solid blue. The drapes and valances over the room's four windows were of the same pattern as the comforter. Wooden blinds replaced the vinyl pull shades that had been drawn at night for years. The room's furnishings included a roll-top desk, a teakwood chest of drawers, a freestanding full-length mirror in a wicker frame, and a rocking chair with an embroidered seat. "It's beautiful," Neil said, "but not so beautiful as that other lost room. I scarcely recognize it." That, at least, was true. The room was a canvas that someone had painted over, making it more pleasing to the eye while disregarding the soul. He wanted to scrape away at all that was new and get back to the original, no matter how seemingly unstylish and worn. But that wouldn't be possible, of course. The room had needed to be changed. The whole house had to change, and that was the root of the problem, Neil thought. Time passed, and everything changed. He couldn't come back to this house as it had been when he was a boy and his cousin Grace was living here and his Uncle Tom was farming the land. When Tom retired, no one had wanted to take up where he left off with the farm. Tom's two sons, Grace's older brothers, had both run from the prospect of owning an oversized house on 237 acres of crop farm in the late 20th century. Grace wasn't interested in farming either, and even if she had been, she knew it was a precarious occupation at a time when so many Midwestern farmers were falling into bankruptcy. But she desired to keep the house, not wanting to be the Sadler from whose fingers it slipped away. And so, upon Tom Sadler's death, Grace and Dennis sold 225 acres of the original 237 to a neighboring farmer at a pretty price, leaving Grace with an even dozen and her branch of the Sadler family verdant with profit. As Grace told it, when she and Dennis, their children grown, tried to fill up all the empty spaces in the house with just the two of them, they found the task impossible. Finally, Dennis muttered, "This house needs people in it," and Grace replied, "I've been thinking of turning it into a bed and breakfast for years." And Dennis shot back, "Well, why didn't you tell me sooner?" And before that day was over, the fate of the house was sealed. The land was gone, or most of it, and there would be no more farm families living and marrying and partying and dying in the Sadler home. Now the house would be a tourist attraction of sorts, a country getaway for city folk, as Grace described it. She and Dennis hoped to attract the business of the well-to-do but urban-weary souls of Cincinnati and Columbus. It was a sign of the times, Neil thought. Even a house was entangled in time, like everything else. "Well, there's an incredible amount of work to be done yet if we're going to start taking guests by September," Grace said. "We'll get it done," he assured her, not sure at all himself it would get done. She smiled. "I'm glad you're here, Neil." He looked at his cousin and tried to return her smile. He hoped she didn't notice his consternation. Grace was more than a decade older than Neil, and though he had expected her to have changed in the intervening years, her appearance startled him. He was almost taken aback by the creases and colorlessness of age. She was still an attractive woman, and yet she was far from the image that Neil had carried with him to Mason, that image of a much younger person. When he had seen her last, her hair had been a smooth and healthy brown, her skin a firm, sleek covering over cheekbones and jaw and neck. Now her hair, though pulled back youthfully into a loose ponytail, was an uncolored gray, her skin wrinkled and dotted with age spots that, at least at the moment, she took no pains to hide with makeup. Last he had seen her, she was a young married woman and the mother of a toddler. Now she was not only a mother, but a grandmother as well. How old must she be, Neil wondered. It would be impossible to calculate.